criminally wrong, and it won't be publishing any more claims about him. But critics of that paper now say they have questions to answer, and probably the wider media, including the BBC. Andy Barr is crisis comms expert from 10 Yetis, originally from Liverpool as well, and joins us now. Andy, thanks for being with us. Hugh Edwards has been a trusted name and face. He's been the face of the BBC for millions of people, you know, covering everything from general elections to the death of the Queen last year as well. And this has been a big shock for many people, isn't it?
Good morning. It has been a huge shock, as you say. He's got a lot of love from viewers and listeners all around the UK and probably around the world. And it's a difficult time for everybody.
What do you make of the statement made by his wife last night?
Well, I think we need to focus on the bit that calls for a bit of privacy, calls for him to be allowed some time to heal and get better. I think that's the most important part. You know, there is a lot of families involved in this whole story, and that's what I think we need to keep in mind in this whole Be Kind arena that we live in.
Is privacy a thing of the past now in this social media world that we live in, do you feel?
I feel in the cesspit of social media it is, and I think the social media channels have got a lot of questions to answer around this whole story as well. You know, there was platforms like TikTok that were suggesting Hugh Edwards' name when you did particular searches. So, you know, this is why the organisations, are calling for regulation of social media, and this is why there's also a lot of scrutiny on The Sun this morning.
There will be questions about how the BBC reported this and how the BBC handled it. Does it make it harder when a media organisation is reporting on something that's happening within their own corporation? I've been presenting for many years. I found it like I was walking on eggshells when I was talking about this story. But, hey, that's part of your job. That's what you get paid for.
I think there are two elements of it. In terms of crisis communication, the corporate side of the BBC was very slow to react. But, you know, we kind of know that. It's a huge employer and a juggernaut. But on the other side, on the news and the reporting side, I don't think there's any questions there. You know, the news team dealt with this fantastically, very sensitively. And I think this is why the BBC as a news organisation is the most respected outlet in the world.
Do you think the respect has been dinted in any way due to past events?
Absolutely not on the news and reporting side, but on the corporate side, yes, I think it has. You know, the fact that this story first emerged in April and yet the Director General wasn't briefed until we're told Thursday last week means that there's an escalation process issue there that the corporate side of the BBC needs to look at. You know, that's just a really factual observation.
It's a rock and a hard place, Andy, really, isn't it? You know, the BBC will no doubt be criticised for how they reported this too slow, as you alluded to before. But the other side of it was, you know, you could say, well, actually, we're trying to establish every single fact here, as well as dancing round a legal process and a privacy process as well. Too much, been reported too much, not reported enough. So it's a balance, this, isn't it? You're never really going to please everybody with this.
It is, but, you know, just to be clear, I'm not criticising the reporting of it. I think that side of it was absolutely fantastic. I think the issue is always going to be difficult because whilst the police investigation is pending, you can't actually say that much. And you know, that's the legal side of it in a nutshell. Obviously, the muddy water is social media because so much is said there that it just becomes difficult for media outlets to ignore it, and that's why we have this clamour for politicians to out them under parliamentary privilege and politicians actually getting involved in sort of almost politicising the whole process.
Not trying to shift any kind of responsibility onto social media platforms because we need to see it as a whole picture, don't we? All of the media outlets. But how do you police social media? I mean, I've had pictures all week sent to me. I mean, I've done searches and searches have come up. This is to do with algorithms, isn't it? You know, and AI to a certain degree. That's a massive thing to try and police. I mean, the genie's well out of the bottle with this.
Oh, very much so. And I think as one platform signs up to a form of regulation or management, another platform pops up that that is totally unmanaged. So, obviously you've got Twitter that is trying to, have some form of regulation to try and make sure the algorithm doesn't present stuff that it shouldn't. But then obviously you've got TikTok that has just all week linked his name to the story via its own search bar. So yeah, it's virtually impossible to manage. Could the algorithm be better managed using human interaction? It probably could, but the cost of that for these social giants, would run into billions.
Do you think that the wider public are aware of the ramifications of posting a name, defamation on social media? If you've got 10 followers on Twitter and you point the finger at someone, or you say something about somebody that's blatantly untrue and damaging to them, if you've got 10 followers, okay, that's one thing. If you've got 20,000 followers or more, I don't know what the threshold is, you are looking at huge costs to you here, and huge legal ramifications. Do you think the wider public are aware of that? Or do you think, I'll just send this funny little picture of so-and-so to me mates?
I think that's very true. The wider public isn't aware of it. In our industry, we look at people with sort of 2,000 to 5,000 followers as micro-influencers, and they do have a big sway on social media. But this is where we applaud. We as an organisation, we applaud people like Nicky Campbell, who's now referred what happened to him to the police, and they want it to be a police matter. And I think a few good examples being made will surely focus the mind and make people think twice. But we're just in this society where everyone craves fame, everyone craves social media adoration, and people are chasing to be the first to say something, and it is, it's a race to the bottom, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a good point. Just one final point. I think I've not made it, and I think it's important that I do. There are human beings involved here in all aspects of this story on both sides, and I think it's important to remember that, isn't it?
Very much so. I think, as I said at the start when we were talking about his wife's statement, it's very easy to forget there's a few sets of families involved in this, and whilst idiots like me can give my opinion, it's important that people keep that in mind and try and hark back to this be kind arena that we all talk about.
All right, Andy, I'm going to leave it there, but thank you so much. There's Andy Barr, crisis comms expert from 10 Yetis, and just with his observations on the past, pretty much getting on for a week now, isn't it? 11 o'clock news, 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 now, isn't it? 11 o'clock news.